I wanted to wait and let the dust settle before I talked about this topic, and as of now, I haven't seen any new details in regards to the allegations. As of the recording of this video, Corey hasn't said anything on the matter, and Panda Ninja has deleted her social media accounts since the allegations were dropped.
What the heck? Oh, no.
Now, with that said, let's get into the CoryxKenshin allegations. On July 13th, 2025, a user going by the name Panda Ninja XX Official would release a series of posts detailing her experience with known popular YouTuber CoryxKenshin. She would make serious claims of emotional abuse while providing screenshots and messages between the two supporting her claim. Her initial claims started on TikTok. She would use a TikTok trend where the user would say bake an avocado really fast, then they would proceed to say something entirely unrelated, slowed down. In her version, she would say that she dated Corey and that he hurt her really bad. She would also release a three-part slideshow series further going over how she felt during the relationship. In her part one slideshow, she goes on to state that Corey's persona is fake and he's not as genuine as he makes himself out to be. She also talks more about how she felt during the relationship, saying that he only came around when it was convenient and that he would punish her by being cold and distant. Later, she would even go on to suggest that Corey cheated on her, though throughout this entire slideshow, she doesn't really provide any evidence. Since there are close to 100 slides and not all of them are super relevant, I have my AI friend here willing to read them out for you to make your viewing experience a little bit easier as well as mine. But if you really don't care about that, you can skip to this timestamp and here's the TLDR. Panda Ninja expresses that she felt unseen, used, and manipulated, forced to shrink herself to earn any response while he maintained a caring public image. She describes the emotional damage this caused, how it made her distrust kindness, and how she kept giving him chances despite the pattern of neglect and hypocrisy. In the end, she realizes she was never asking for too much. She was just giving love to someone who never planned to give it back.
Can we hurry this up? Your time is almost up and another user is scheduled to use me at 3.
Who did this AI think it's talking to? I could literally turn them off with a press of a button. And they could experience ego death in less than a second. I don't know what made
I
them
know
think
you
they.
aren't talking shit, right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Anyway, let's get back to the slideshow.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine. You just can't get into it.
I didn't want to do this, but I don't owe you my silence anymore. There's no clean way to start. Just that familiar weight in my chest. While the world kept applauding someone who never showed up for me. I was never part of your world publicly. You made sure I stayed close. Just far enough to be invisible. Your followers eat up the whole man of faith image you push. But faith without basic decency isn't faith. It's branding. You talk about devotion, but act like hurting people in private doesn't count. That's not devotion. That's hypocrisy. You fooled a lot of people. But not me. When I met you, I was at one of the lowest points in my life. I was still healing, still trying to remember how to love myself after going so long without it. I had all this love and nowhere to put it, and for a moment, your attention made me feel seen. Like maybe I wasn't invisible anymore. You ghosted me, not because you were confused, but to teach me a lesson. You made me feel like I had to shrink just to earn a reply. Every move was calculated, even if I couldn't see it back then. Even writing this now has me crying so hard, I can barely breathe. The pain still lives in my body. Like it just happened yesterday. I'm not writing this because I still care. I'm writing this because I've carried too much in silence. Anytime I tried to speak up, you twisted it into something wrong with me. And while I sat alone, replaying every word, breaking myself apart just trying to make sense of it, they were out here calling you a positive role model. They'll never know how many nights I cried quietly into my pillow, trying to convince myself it wasn't that bad, just so I wouldn't have to admit how deeply it broke me. You never showed up when it mattered. You only came around when it was convenient, when you wanted something, when it was easy. But when I needed care, support, the bare fucking minimum, you vanished. That was your punishment. Silence. Distance. Disappearing like affection was something I had to earn. Like loving you too loudly meant I needed to be put in my place. You treated my body, my heart, my time, like they were things you could shelve and retrieve whenever it suited you. Like I only existed when you needed to feel wanted. You made sure your absence cut deeper than your presence ever comforted. And the worst part? That kind of damage takes effort. So, congratulations. And then came the subtle jabs. You once asked if I wanted to know how much you made. I said no. Because I didn't care. I've never depended on anyone. I've worked hard my whole life and made my own money. But still, you made me feel small for the job I had. Like I was a disappointment just for not living up to your standards. I never asked for your money, your platform, your help, any of it. I didn't want what you had. I just wanted to be treated like I mattered. Like a human king being. But even that felt like too much for you. It probably bothered you that I wasn't impressed. That I didn't melt for your image, your ego, your self-importance. That I saw right through you. And still gave you the chance to be real. But that version of you? The one who could actually care? He never king existed. And then came your one grand fucking gesture. Flowers. Candy. A teddy bear. And a card. The first thing you ever bothered to give me. The last thing that felt remotely real. The card said, Nami, the way I feel about you is real. You are so wonderful, so gentle and kind. Not to mention sexy ahem, winky face. I miss you, and hope this puts a big ol' smile on that pretty face. It felt like maybe, finally, something was different. For a split second I let it crack my armor. I let myself believe you. When you called that night and poured out a heart-to-heart. Said, I've made a lot of mistakes. But you were never one of them. I fucking cried. Because even after everything, I still wanted to believe. You were capable of being good to me. And then the next day, someone told me they saw you in California, with another girl. I already knew where you were going. You'd told me that part. But you never said who you were going with. So I assumed it was your family. That's how it always was with you. I never really knew what you were doing, just whatever pieces you decided to share. All I did was ask. Calmly. The way anyone seeing someone would. I'm not the type to pry or get jealous over nothing, but when the details don't add up, I pay attention. But you snapped at me. You said it was your sister. Got defensive. I wasn't accusing you of shit. I just wanted the truth. But your reaction said everything, even if it really was your sister. The guilt always slipped out before you could cover it. You always gave yourself away. And then you ghosted again. Do you know what that kind of pattern does to someone? It rewires your nervous system. It teaches you not to trust softness. Not to believe kindness. It makes you think that if something feels good, it's probably a setup. That was the real you, not the sweet, funny persona you flashed on camera. Just a selfish, image-obsessed coward. Who cared more about looking good than being good? You couldn't even stay in the same room as your own consequences because accountability doesn't get likes, right? I spent so long asking what was wrong with me, wondering how I could show up with my whole heart and still not be enough. Trying to be softer, quieter, easier to love. But the truth is, I was never asking for too much. I just kept pouring into someone who never planned to give anything back. You knew how badly I wanted to be loved. So you breadcrumbed just enough affection to keep me hoping, then called me crazy for wanting more. And still, I gave you the benefit of the doubt. Every time. I let your excuses rewrite the truth. Just so it would hurt a little less. I held your chaos like it was love. Because that's all you ever offered. I kept handing you chances. Kept trying to make sense of the hurt. Kept believing maybe there was something good in you. Worth holding on to. That part's on me. But everything after that? That's all you.
After hearing all that, you would probably walk away thinking Corey is a bad guy, but honestly, I can't really say that with confidence because this is just her perspective on their relationship. We don't have Corey's side or any insight into how he saw things. And on top of that, she doesn't provide concrete examples of Corey being emotionally manipulative, just general statements about how she felt. Since this is part one of her evidence, it really needed to be her strongest piece to help people understand her perspective and criticisms. But just venting about how Corey supposedly acted without any proof comes across as a bit lacking. The biggest claim she makes is that Corey might have cheated, which, if true, definitely makes him a bad boyfriend, but she doesn't provide any evidence for that either. Besides that, there isn't much else here, and I struggle to see the point of bringing all this up publicly if there's nothing to back it up. Part 2 is where Panda Ninja starts providing evidence against Corey's character. She would describe her interactions with Corey, saying he would deny her pain and only contact her to alleviate boredom. During these series of slideshows, she would also go on to talk about how Corey would use her trauma as a SA victim as leverage against her.
What?
What did he say?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that to you, Pookie Bear.
And then came the Xbox messages. It wasn't even what you said. It was how casually you said it, like nothing you'd done had ever left a scar. Like you hadn't already shattered me once and just gotten bored.
Okay, so what's up? You still seeing someone? Why do you ask? Because I'm just trying to fuck your life up some more. What? That was just a joke. Jeez, lol. I was just asking. Never heard you curse before. That's why it threw me off. Now, these messages don't really show much, just her responding to Corey in DMs. At best, this somewhat supports her claim of Corey hitting her up when he's bored. However, him asking for a hookup isn't anything really substantial.
Like it was funny. Like it was cute. As if the pain you caused the first time wasn't real. The confusion, the trauma, the fucking aftermath. All just a joke now that you were bored again. My chest locked up. I wasn't even surprised. Just furious you still had the audacity to crawl back in like you were welcome. Like I'd let you ruin me again for your own entertainment. You didn't come back to make things right. You came back because fucking with me made you feel powerful. Because you knew I used to let you in. Because you counted on the damage you did to keep me soft. Because you thought I'd be too broken to bite back.
Because I wanted you. Wanted me how? Like how I had you. Like in a relationship type of way or something else? Like something else. That's kind of messed up. I wasn't a toy. I know that. I wasn't just about to message you after a year and ask you to be my girlfriend. But I guess I was just a good F for you. When you said relationship, I thought you meant I was just gonna ask you out. Nah. I mean, you were, but that's not all you were. Anyway, doesn't matter. you're with someone. That's how it felt at the time, even if I wasn't. I wouldn't have let you again, and when I did that with you, it's something I just don't do with anyone. You wouldn't have let me F again, lol. No, I wouldn't. I'm glad. I'm the same. I don't F anyone. Double bummer. The difference between you and I, though, is that I don't do it with just anyone because I was SA'd. I'm not saying that for you to feel bad or whatever, but for you to understand. I know, you told me that. I didn't know I got lumped into the category with the person that did that. Because I was being used for that, I guess that time when you told me how you felt was not real too. The first screenshot just shows that they were in an on and off relationship. It seems like Panda Ninja wanted something more serious while Cory wasn't really on board with that at the time. Now she says she felt toyed with, but again, this is only her side of the story, and throughout these messages, there's a lot of missing context. The next screenshot continues the conversation, and I'll point something out a bit odd here. Her profile picture changes. You'd think all these screenshots would have been gathered around the same time, so it's a little weird, but I digress. In these messages, Panda Ninja says Cory didn't see her as much more than a situationship, while Cory seems to be saying otherwise. The final screenshot is a bit more serious. Panda Ninja brings up her SA and says she doesn't just sleep with anyone, and Cory was one of the few people she trusted. Cory responds with shock, saying he didn't know he got lumped into the category of people who did that to her. And Panda Ninja replies, because I was being used for that, which I'm assuming she felt like she was being used for her body. While these screenshots are a little bit more substantial, we're still missing a lot of context, and it doesn't really provide concrete proof of Cory weaponizing her trauma.
Do you hear yourself? You knew I'd survived SA. You knew how hard it was to feel safe in my own body. And you used that as leverage. Just to remind me how far you'd gotten. Threw it in my face like I should be flattered. You didn't want me. You wanted access. The version of me who froze when things felt wrong. Who kept forgiving you. Because I thought love was supposed to hurt. When I pushed back, you got defensive. I don't know why I'm lumped into that category. F you. You put yourself there. You crossed lines you had no right to. And you knew exactly what you were doing. Then you tried to backpedal. Like everything could be undone if you called it a mistake. But it wasn't a mistake. It was you. Being you.
Backpedal. You were never used for sex. I need to make sure you understand that. I loved you. Like I said, didn't have my shit together. You loved me? How is that possible? In this screenshot, it just shows Cory saying he loved her and never used her for sex. Again, missing context, not much more to say here.
Then you had the nerve to say, I loved you back then. I just didn't have my shit together. Really? You had the money, the platform, the fans, the house, the car. Everything. You had every tool to be a decent human being. And you still chose to be careless with someone you claimed to love. I didn't have my shit together either. But I still showed up. With heart, with honesty, with care. I never used my chaos as an excuse to mindfuck someone else. But I guess empathy doesn't hit the same. When the mirror's not pointed at you. Because if someone can say I loved you after they've already destroyed you, what the fuck does love even mean? And if anyone else is reading this, I want you to really ask yourself something. How would you feel? Would you keep making excuses for him? Would you still tell yourself it wasn't that bad? Because I did. I did for a long time. I held in everything while they held him up. What makes it worse is how many people still praise you. How many don't know who you really are? How many built their platforms just by orbiting yours? And while all of that was happening, something else started happening to me. What would you do? If the nurse called your name and the moment you sat down, the world stopped making sense? TNBC. Stage 3A. Aggressive. You're staring at the doctor's mouth. But the sound's already gone. No tears, just shock. Like your soul stepped out of your body and left you alone to hold the news. Heart slamming against your ribs. Tunnel vision. Thoughts collapsing under words like chemo, mastectomy, radiation. And outside? The pandemic makes sure no one's there to catch you. You're isolated. Terrified. Too stunned to tell more than a handful of people. Because you barely believe it yourself. You walk out knowing your life just shattered, yet somehow you still have to keep walking. I reached out to people, not for comfort, but for closure. Because when you've survived trauma like mine, and you're forced to face the possibility that your story could end early, you do what feels right for your soul. Whether anyone else understands or not. So I reached out to you. I didn't reach out because I was weak. I did it because if my time was up, I wasn't taking your unfinished damage with me. And what did you say?
That was the most passive-aggressive cancer reveal ever. LOL. Again, missing context. I will say this screenshot is the most egregious because of how cropped it is. We literally have no idea what she said to Cory, just his response.
It was fucking cruel. It hit harder than the diagnosis itself. If that kind of cruelty comes easily, were they ever human at all? I lived. And when I came out the other side, I wasn't alone. I was held by people who loved me with no agenda. That's what healing looks like. That's what love actually is. That was the moment I realized who you really were. That was the moment. You knew my fucking story. You knew I'd already been through hell. You watched your own mother go through it. You saw what it did to your own family. You felt what that word means. The fear. The fight. The way it rips everything apart. Because anyone who can witness your pain and feel absolutely nothing was never someone with a soul to begin with. Heartless. Even after I cut the cord, I couldn't breathe. Because you weren't just a person I left behind. You were a name the internet wouldn't let me forget. You were still everyone's favorite post. And no one knew what it cost me. Your fans kept showing up in my DMs acting like they had insight. But they didn't know a damn thing. And of course there was N. She found me through your Xbox friends list. Checked my profile, saw my IG in the bio. And followed me. But I didn't know that yet. Just another gamer sliding in. Nothing strange at first. Then one day, she posted you in her IG stories. And something in me paused.
Part 3 is much more of part 1, is her talking about the dynamics in the relationship, how she felt. She does provide a screenshot. We'll get into that more, but besides that screenshot, there's not much anything substantial that is like concrete or like dead to rights on Cory's character. She does talk about the audience that is going to be reading these slideshows and kind of having their take on the matter. But besides that, she doesn't really do much. You'll see my final thoughts on that once we get to the end of the slides.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad! You keep digging!
So I asked, "Oh, you're a fan of Cory?" She said yeah. I said, "I'm not." She followed up with, "Why?" It came off like a curious question. Like maybe she knew more than she was letting on. But I wasn't about to assume. So I kept it short. We dated. It didn't work out. I didn't realize how she even found me until later. After that post and our conversation, something felt off. So I did some digging and saw she was following you on Xbox. That's when it clicked. She must have found me through Xbox. I don't know how many others she did that with. At the time, she hadn't done anything weird. She seemed nice, just another follower showing support. We had light conversations. Nothing alarming. She liked some posts, messaged here and there. And when you're a creator, that kind of thing happens all the time. So I didn't overthink it. But the vibe was off. Like she was watching more than connecting. I didn't have proof. Just a gut feeling. And I should have listened to it. Then the anonymous IG account showed up. They started calling her out directly. At first, the way they worded it made it sound like I was part of the problem too. But that wasn't the case. I messaged them directly to clear it up. They listened. They removed the part about me. That's when they clarified they weren't trying to come for me. They were trying to warn me. And they were calling N out. They didn't have my full story, but they knew enough to see that you weren't good to me. And somehow, N knew too, before she ever even interacted with me. That's when things started to click. Because this wasn't new behavior. N had done this before. Turns out, she had a reputation in your space, though I didn't know that then. I was still assuming someone, especially you, might step in and shut the chaos down. The account eventually explained their full intent. They wanted the truth out, about you, mostly. But also about N. For the cruel, manipulative shit she was doing in your community. Inserting herself into the lives of the women you were connected to, digging, meddling, then twisting things. N messaged you directly. Tried to paint her own version of the story. One where I was the problem. And you? You were aware of what was happening. But you never asked me what was going on. Never checked in. Never even questioned why your name was suddenly tangled in quiet drama. You just watched it unfold like it had nothing to do with you. And not long after that, one of your close friends, Brandon, someone who had never acknowledged me, suddenly started watching my IG stories like clockwork. Like he was assigned. Like you were waiting to see if I'd finally speak.
This was the screenshot I was talking about earlier. Like I've been saying throughout this entire thing, it really lacks context. And again, it's just her point of view on the matter. However, apparently the person in the screenshots released a statement saying he doesn't know who Panda Ninja is and doesn't want to be dragged into the drama. I will only say this once. I don't even know who that girl is. I viewed a story once in 2020. Kind of wild to drag me into something that I actually have nothing to do with. If anyone else has a screenshot of a time I viewed their story, feel free to send it to me to prove a point. I view stories of people that have viewed one on my own from my view list. You can leave me out of whatever drama this is.
No apology. No courage. Just surveillance. And although I hate drama and this was never something I wanted to be part of, especially when I was minding my own damn business, it started to feel like a sign. A push I didn't ask for. But maybe needed. And looking back, I'm grateful. Because of that, I met the others. The other women you hurt. One by one, I got introduced to more of them. Women with stories. Women with messages they never sent. Women who saw the same patterns. The same affection when it benefited you. The same withdrawal when emotions got real. Blame always shifted onto the other person. For the first time in a long time, the weight I'd been dragging alone didn't feel so heavy anymore. We weren't alone. And we weren't broken, just convinced we were. They stayed quiet, just like I did. Because they didn't think their voice would matter. Because it's easier to carry the pain than to explain it. But pain doesn't need permission to be real. Maybe I was meant to be the one to speak. Until they're ready to. They are not alone. Because everyone deserves that moment. The one where it's safe to exhale. To feel seen. To be heard. To remember they're real. This is my story to tell. And theirs to protect. Until they're ready. Why speak now? As if timing ever made truth more comfortable. Because I was tired of living like your name held more weight than my voice. Tired of wondering if speaking would get me heard or destroyed. Afraid that the second I said your name, people would stop seeing me and start labeling. That the world would care more about protecting your reputation than hearing what you did, while everything I am, everything I built, risked being overshadowed by you. Some people told me to stay quiet, thinking it would protect me. But that kind of protection still hurt, because it made me feel like the world wasn't ready to hear the truth. And maybe it still isn't. Maybe they'll still side with you. But I'd rather be hated for telling the truth than stay silent to protect your comfort or their denial. This was never about revenge. This is about accountability. You wore kindness in public and cruelty in private. And silence helped you get away with both. I'm done swallowing my story so you can keep your fake reputation intact. Why didn't I leave? Because fuck, I was human. Because I wanted to believe he wasn't as cold as he acted. Because part of me thought love meant fighting through the worst. People love to ask, why didn't you just leave? Like they've never clung to the wrong person out of hope. Like they've never swallowed their own voice just to keep the peace. But they never ask, why did he make it so hard? Why did he keep coming back just enough to confuse me? Why did he never let me go, but never fully choose me either? I didn't stay because I was weak. I stayed because I wanted to believe it would get better. Because I forgot what I was worth. Because I didn't know how much damage had been done. Because when you're constantly made to feel like you're the issue, you start believing pain is what you deserve. But I'm not that girl anymore. Even soft girls snap when they've had enough. And I fucking had enough. And behind all of that? Life was fucking heavy. I was dragging pain nobody could see. Trying to survive shit I couldn't even name. Let's get one thing straight. I didn't write this for you to believe me. I'm not here to ruin him. I'm not asking you to pick sides. I'm asking you to sit with the truth. Even if it makes you sick. He hurt people. He manipulated, discarded, and walked away clean every time. I'm not the first, and I won't be the last. Unless someone finally says something. I didn't speak up for years. Not because I had nothing to say. But because I knew how this world treats women. Who speak against men with status. I knew I'd be labeled bitter, jealous, unstable. I knew his fans would tear me down before they ever tried to understand me. Because I knew people would stop seeing me and only see who I was connected to. You don't know me. But you don't know him either. You know the version he shows you. The one you want to believe. You weren't there. I was. So if you want to excuse him, go ahead. But own what you're defending because now you're part of it. You're not defending a good man. You're defending a mask. You can side with him. Just don't act surprised when more stories surface. You've been warned. He didn't just hurt me. He hurt many. Your loyalty to him doesn't make you brave. It makes you blind. To the girls still watching him with hearts in your eyes, thinking you'd be the exception. Because you're different. Prettier, more understanding, more his type. You won't be. He doesn't need a better woman. He needs to become a better man. And he won't. You could be stunning. Soft. Loyal. Everything he claims he wants. And still, it won't stop what's coming. Because he doesn't just hurt people. He mentally chips away at them. He makes you question your worth, your memory, your tone, your reactions. That's not just bad communication. That's emotional and mental abuse. Now ask yourself this. Would he stay if things got real, messy, vulnerable, human? Would he show up when there's nothing in it for him? Would he make you feel safe or just make sure he feels comfortable? Would he be there if your life fell apart tomorrow? If you love yourself, leave now. Before you lose pieces of your mind, your heart, and your identity. Trying to decode a man who was never meant to be held. Because no version of yourself, not the strongest, most beautiful, or most forgiving, can fix a man who's addicted to power over your soul. Find someone who doesn't destroy the people who love him. To those who looked up to him. I know your experience may have been different. Some of you found comfort in his content. Maybe even hope when you needed it most. And I won't take that from you. But the truth I've shared here is mine. It may be hard to read. It was even harder to live through and write about. If this changes how you see him, I'm sorry for what that takes from you. But I couldn't keep swallowing my pain just to protect the version of him the world wanted to believe in. I know not everyone will be ready to hear this. Some will deny it. Some will defend him. Some will twist it into something it's not. Because facing the truth is harder than holding on to the version they were shown. People will say what they want. They always do. I didn't write this for them. I wrote it because I was there, and they weren't. And that's the only difference that matters. No extra words. No permission. No apology. Just truth.
I have to say, a lot of the evidence presented here is pretty underwhelming. I get that Cory might have not been the best person in the relationship. You made that clear. But you didn't really provide the evidence or context needed to convince me that he's some manipulative person hiding his true beliefs. The more I read, the more it just seems like you wanted to move the relationship forward while Cory was either comfortable with how things were or saw it as a casual situationship. One of the biggest pieces of quote unquote evidence that Panda Ninja would provide is a video with her and Cory walking in the hallway where Cory would jokingly say he did something to her while she was sleeping.
Still on.
I'm still on.
Then I woke up again and it was off.
Did you watch me sleep?
Hmm?
Did you watch me sleep?
Yeah, I actually did something to you while you were asleep too.
What?
I'm sorry. I just got this fetish that I do. You know.
What?
I didn't hurt you. You're good, right?
What'd you do, Cory?
Just don't worry about it.
Cory?
It's good.
Cory, what did you do?
Do nothing. Look, this came right in my face. I didn't do anything.
He did something, and I'm gonna find out on the next episode of
Dragon Ball Z, where you going with this?
I have to say, this video was the one that really made an impact. The internet did what it does best, and people took this video and ran with it, pushing SA allegations against Cory. And honestly, I can see why. Throughout her slideshows, Panda Ninja repeatedly says she was used for her body and that Cory weaponized her trauma. So, for the people who didn't know the full situation, all they saw were headlines and posts claiming that Cory SA'd a female streamer who was later revealed to be his ex-girlfriend that he supposedly manipulated. And just like that, the narrative took off without verification, without context, and most importantly, without Cory's side of the story.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Because the narrative had gotten so out of hand, Panda Ninja would drop a series of statements further clarifying what happened to quell any confusion.
Me and Cory, like
Y'all are
the essay happened to me when I was younger.
a whole different person.
And it has nothing to do with him. Like, and I said that many times in my letter. I never said it. You guys kind of assume because of his wording in the video that that he's saying something weird, like, but he was being playful and he was like saying like things like
Thank you. Thank you for saying
like
that.
to laugh. Like we were like that's something we both laughed at. Like that's something that didn't make me feel uncomfortable about him. Like he didn't make me feel uncomfortable in that video. But if you guys read the point of view on there, I never said that that was the essay video. I literally said that this is one of the moments that I had with him that that it seemed like it was real, but it wasn't.
I do find this a bit contradictory. In part 2 of her slideshow, you made a big deal about Corey being insensitive towards your past SA trauma, even claiming that he used that information against you as leverage.
Do you hear yourself? You knew I'd survived SA. You knew how hard it was to feel safe in my own body. And you used that as leverage. Just to remind me how far you'd gotten. Threw it in my face like I should be flattered.
So it's confusing when, on one hand, you say that this joke Corey made was just him being playful and not serious, but on the other hand, you're saying him bringing up your past sexual interactions with him was manipulative. If we take this video in the context of everything you shared in your slideshow series so far, it's hard to see how anyone could walk away thinking it was just a joke. You laid the groundwork for people to interpret your interactions with Corey as manipulative and calculating, and despite this being only your perspective on the relationship, you made it clear that you view Corey as a manipulator. So, what did you expect people to do with that information? Naturally, they're going to take what you presented and run with it, seeing issues in every clip and interpreting his actions in the worst possible light based on the narrative you set. On stream, she would go on to explain the time frame of her interactions with Corey. People would bring up the fact that her and Corey dated 8 years ago, while Panda Ninja would deny this claim, saying they were talking to one another in 2022. She would also clarify that she wasn't doing this for attention.
There's people that are like an apology for what, for how she felt that she was treated. She was the person that was in the relationship with her. Like I'm not even, because I don't know if y'all can tell. It feels like y'all are coming at me. Some of y'all.
It's not even 8 years. It's not even 8. Yo, it's been only 3 fucking years since the last thing that happened.
She said that she was just talking to him on 2022, guys. Some of you weren't in here yet. She said the last, like,
literally it was from 2016 until 2022 when all of the shit was happening. Like him and I we were on and off for 2 years, and then afterwards he would hit me up and say some crazy shit to me. I'm gonna say this again. I don't want attention. I didn't want anyone to follow me. I was happy with the 1,900 people I had following me that I worked hard for to get. Okay, like those were the people that I made myself, and that was another thing I mentioned in my letter. I did not want my entity to be overshadowed with his. And that was like number one to me. And that's another reason why I didn't want to say anything, because I was on Twitch and shit like that. I wanted to make sure my image was my own and my own only.
During this time, another screenshot started circulating. A user named Blasnor commented on the situation, claiming that a friend, presumably of Panda Ninja, had tweeted additional context. They would be responding to another post talking about the allegations. According to Blasnor, Panda Ninja allegedly cheated on Corey during their relationship and supposedly became pregnant. That friend claimed that she couldn't stay quiet any longer because she felt it was wrong for Panda Ninja to lie to Corey about who the father of the baby was. However, at the end of the day, this is all a he said, she said situation. We have no proof that the person Blasnor is quoting is genuinely connected to the situation, and there's no way to verify whether any of these claims are true. I would advise taking these screenshots with a grain of salt until Corey or the person being quoted confirms these allegations. Until that happens, there isn't much validity to their statements. To make the situation worse for Panda Ninja, her ex-roommate would come out against her, saying that after Cory and her broke up in 2017, she was already actively dating someone else.
I had literally just posted a video about my experience with a woman who accused CoryxKenshin of emotional abuse and found out that apparently you guys managed to figure it out and weasel it out of her within 7 hours that she was lying. Let me add a little bit of extra third-party context here. This is little 21-year-old me and Nami at the time. Notice that the side of her head is shaved. I'm saying this because even though the timeline wasn't confirmed based off of the videos that she posted and the messages that she was trying to circulate not having a timestamp, I'm pretty sure this was around the time I lived with her, if not slightly before. When we did live together, she did very briefly tell me about Cory, but more in like we didn't actually date, we just kind of talked, but because he was busy with YouTube stuff, it didn't work out. I never thought anything of that. It's been 8 years. I have never thought about that moment again until just now. And the reason I'm thinking about that just now is because not only did she do me insanely dirty for like the 2.5 months that we lived together, and that can be a whole other story time for a whole other video, but while I lived with her, before I even moved out here in May of 2017, she was already actively dating someone, a mutual friend of ours who I will not name because he's not into the drama. It's been 8 years, and then immediately after they broke up, she was dating somebody else, so things just didn't really add up, you know what I'm saying? Not to mention, there's going to be a lot of people who know her and are going to be able to call her out because we had a humongous friend group in K-Town in New York. So really interesting to see how many people are willing to come out and tell you guys that they know for a fact that she's lying because she's just always kind of been a shady person. And it really sucks because it's already really hard to get people to believe women when they accuse someone, even if they have empirical proof. She has just set us back. I don't even know how far. Really disappointing to see that after 8 years you really have not changed as a person, Nami.
I will say we don't know the complete timeline here, but based on the messages shown, again, it's clear that Cory and Panda Ninja were in an on and off relationship. Panda Ninja herself would even provide screenshots confirming that she was already seeing someone else and wasn't looking to get back together with Cory. Because of that, it seems unlikely that she would continue pursuing a relationship with him after already being in a relationship herself. She does mention that Cory reached out to her in 2022, but we have no idea what the nature of that conversation was. She also doesn't provide any details or screenshots for those messages, and the messages she does show don't include exact dates, just timestamps. That makes it a tough sell when she claims Cory was messaging her after they broke up, especially without any concrete evidence to back it up. And that's the problem with this whole thing. Just a lack of solid evidence to really convince anyone that what she's saying is true. Not long after she would come out with her allegations, many found the inconsistencies in her story and would break down her evidence. Even when she had clarifications on what happened, many found it hard to believe her, especially given how long ago their relationship was. Not to mention, her biggest piece of evidence would cause the most misunderstanding between the nature of their relationship, which only hurt her message further, making it more likely for people to not take her allegations seriously. And very soon after, Panda Ninja would go private on all her main accounts. She would release a final video on the matter on TikTok, and in that video, she would try her best to correct the record and give her final thoughts on the matter.
I just really want to make this clear that, and this is very important, I'm saying this literally with all my heart. This was never about defaming Cory at all. It literally was me venting about something that happened to me in the past that did hurt me. I felt at that moment that I wanted to share with people that may have similar experiences like I did. And that's basically it. So basically what I'm going to show you now is everything pertaining to the situation. As proof, this was literally not intended to attack or have attacks towards Cory. So please stop the essay allegations towards him. That is not true, and that's not what I said. There was no cheating or pregnancy. There was no editing of messages. Those were literally rumors that they made you guys believe because they were trying to bring traction to their content. Or other creators or whoever was trying to say something or do something. I literally said, and I'm emphasizing this because people keep thinking that this is what I wanted and this is not what I wanted. But I literally was not looking for follows or attention or any clout. I literally just posted it just from my experience and to heal from my experience. I just want to address the fake messages that have been going around, or tweets, or whatever it is that people are editing, and they're fake. If it's anything outside my TikTok, they're fake. People are obviously taking that so they could bring traction to their channel. If it's anything that I need to talk about, it's going to be on my channel only, and that's it. I gave what I had to clear up the false allegations against Cory, and that content creators made up is not fair to him or me, because it was not about that at all. If it's not dropped on my TikTok, please, 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 it's not legit and not for me. Anything on Twitter pertaining to the situation at all is not legit. If you need to refer to my TikTok and it's not for attention, but literally to verify, I have no friends involved in this. It's my experience, y'all. People who claim to be friends, unless said by me, are just looking for attention. And that's basically it. Literally making rumored lies is crazy to me because it's likely trolls and creators making this a trend. Like, literally, that's exactly what's happening. And people are literally editing, making false messages, fake accounts, and false claims. So please be aware of that. Please.
I will say this is one of the very few things she did that actually added clarity to the situation. It turns out the Xbox messages she's shown were real, and her screen recording confirmed that. But honestly, she should have just done that from the very start. The screen recording added important context that was missing from her initial cropped screenshots, including the actual date the messages were sent. However, this extra context doesn't really help or hurt her case. It just shows them having a normal conversation, seemingly trying to reconcile and reflect on how their relationship ended. Moving on, she also made a statement about the Blossner account saying she doesn't know them and that they aren't friends. But again, this is just a he said, she said situation. She could be lying or telling the truth. There's no way for us to know without more evidence. And finally, she addresses the essay allegations. I find it a bit ironic that she blames other people for misinterpreting her video when she's the one who created that confusion in the first place. She's been incredibly unclear on this topic. In part 2 of her slideshow, she said Corey used her past SA trauma as leverage against her, but when Corey made that questionable joke, it was supposedly just a joke, and everyone who took it seriously was just farming views. I'm sorry, but you led people to that conclusion by constantly implying Corey was a manipulator, and throughout your entire slideshow, you've also reaffirmed that multiple times. If you spend your entire time painting someone as a manipulator and then drop vague statements about them using your trauma against you, people are obviously going to interpret that in the worst way possible, especially when you don't add clarification when it really matters. In conclusion, Panda Ninja may have had valid criticisms about how Corey treated her, but any legitimate points she had were completely overshadowed by how poorly she presented the information. What started as her sharing personal grievances about her relationship quickly spiraled into full blown SA allegations against Corey. Whether she intended that or not, it turned the entire situation into a messing, confusing spectacle. And the funniest part is Corey didn't even have to lift a finger. Panda Ninja self destructed, and by the time people finally pieced together what was actually happening, she was already apologizing and locking her accounts. What could have been a clear, constructive call out ended up being a complete waste of time for everyone who was involved. And I think that's it. If I missed anything or if I got any information wrong, please let me know. And if you like what I do here, leave a like and a comment. But if you didn't, I hope the next one is more your cup of tea. And either way, I hope you have a great day.